Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
you said I'm the most transparent
situation.
FBI director in history. 33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
What happens when a routine Senate questioning session turns into a direct confrontation over FBI firings, political retaliation, and the Epstein files? That is exactly where this exchange between Senator Adam Schiff and FBI Director Kash Patel becomes explosive. Schiff presses Patel repeatedly on whether FBI employees were removed, disciplined, or targeted because they worked on investigations involving Donald Trump or January 6th. But instead of giving the simple yes or no answer Schiff demands, Patel repeatedly points to performance standards, constitutional obligations, and the FBI's internal requirements. Then the questioning shifts to one of the most controversial subjects in American politics, the Epstein files. Schiff challenges Patel over previous statements about Epstein's so-called Black Book, what information the FBI actually possesses, and what the government knows about other people potentially connected to Epstein. And as the pressure keeps building, the exchange takes a dramatic turn that transforms a tense hearing into an extraordinary personal confrontation. What happens next is the moment everyone will be talking about. Please subscribe our channel for further exclusive content. Let's play this clip.
Mr. Patel, during your confirmation hearing, you made several important commitments. For instance, you told Senator Coons there will be no politicization at the FBI. There'll be no retributive actions taken by any FBI should I be confirmed as FBI director. So let me ask you very specifically, did you ever take any action to terminate or discipline an FBI agent or employee in whole or in part as retribution for being part of an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th?
No.
You also committed, you assured Senator Blumenthal, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. So you're testifying today that you played no role in the firing of even a single FBI agent for political retribution.
None for political retribution.
And if any FBI agent said you did, they would be lying. Is that your testimony?
I'm only speaking to my actions. Everybody is allowed to make their allegations.
Oh, no, these are allegations against you.
And
so, Mr. Patel, if FBI, senior FBI agents or employees said that you were firing them for political retribution reasons because of the cases they were assigned, you're saying they would be lying. Is that
anyone that was terminated at the FBI was done so for failing to meet the standards, uphold their constitutional oath, and effectuate the mission.
Well, by meet the standards, are you talking about meet the standards of protecting the president under any circumstance?
No.
You also guaranteed Senator Blumenthal that every FBI employee will be held to the same, absolute same standard. No one will be terminated for case assignments. Are you testifying today that you never terminated anyone at the FBI in whole or in part because of a prior case assignment?
No one at the FBI is terminated for case assignments alone.
Well, I'm asking about you, Mr. Patel. Did you, in whole or in part, terminate anyone at the FBI because they worked on the Trump investigation or because they worked on January 6th?
No one at the FBI has been terminated for case assignments alone.
Okay, you're saying alone. Does that mean they were terminated in part because they were assigned to a January 6th case or assigned to the Mar-a-Lago case? You're being very precise here, Mr. Patel. You're saying alone. That means they were fired in part because they were assigned those cases. Is that your testimony?
Absolutely not. But if you want to keep putting words in my mouth,
then let
ahead.
me ask you, let's strip away the word alone. Did you terminate or participate in any discipline of any FBI employee in whole or in part because of their work on an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th? Yes or no?
Any terminations at the FBI by employees?
No, I'm asking you a very specific question.
And I'm going to answer the question, but you don't like the answer because it's the truth and it guts
want
your
an answer to my
narrative.
question. I don't want an answer to someone else's question. So let me just be precise, and I ask for a yes or no answer. Did you ever terminate or discipline an FBI employee in whole or in part because they had been assigned or worked on an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th?
FBI
Yes or no?
employees are only terminated
Yes
if
or
they
no,
fail
Mr.
to
Patel?
uphold their oaths of
Yes or
office
no?
and duty.
You're not
at the
answering my
FBI
question.
I
You're
don't
not
have to
answering my
answer your question yes or no because you're setting up a trap so you can have a media
No, I'm not
narrative.
setting up a trap.
And I'm not
unless-
giving it to you.
Unless it's true that you fired people.
People
in
have been
whole or in part
terminated at
because
the
they
FBI who fail to uphold
were
the
assigned
standards
to.
that the FBI requires them to uphold.
Did you tell anyone at the FBI that all FBI employees who they identified who had worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs? Did you tell that to someone at the FBI?
Say that I would remove people for case assignments?
That people that were identified as having worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs. Did you tell that to someone at the FBI?
People are not removed
But
for
just
case
answer my
assignments.
question. Just answer my question. Did you tell that to someone?
People are not removed for case
No,
assignments.
you're not answering my question.
And I would
Mr.
never
Patel,
tell anyone.
Did you tell someone at the FBI that FBI employees identified as having worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs? Yes or no? Did you tell someone that?
I would never tell anyone at the FBI that they're being removed for basically their case assignments.
Okay, so anyone who said that would be lying. Is that your testimony?
Anyone can say whatever they want.
No, I know, but you're saying they were a liar.
I'm telling you what I said.
Because this is in the complaint against you, Mr. Patel. So you're saying Mr. Driscoll and others are liars.
I'm not going to address the complaint and the ongoing
Okay, well then let me
litigation.
ask you, have you ever told anyone at the FBI that the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it, and that your job depended on the removal of agents who worked on cases against the president?
No.
Did you ever tell anyone that?
No.
Okay. Did you ever tell anyone that you knew these summary firings you were undertaking were illegal, likely illegal, and that you would be sued and later deposed? Did you ever tell anyone that?
No firings at the FBI or terminations were done for anything other than justified
Did you ever
cause.
tell anyone that, Mr.
No,
Patel? Why don't you
no
answer my question?
terminations at the FBI were ever done in my tenure for anything other than failing
Did you ever
to
tell
uphold
anyone
their
that,
oath of
Mr. Patel? You
office
willing to answer
or
the
their-
question?
The FBI.
I guess you're
have
not willing to
answered
answer the
it.
question. So let me move on. Let me move on to the Epstein files. You said you're the most transparent FBI director in history, so I'm going to put you to the test. In 2024, you were asked by Glenn Beck about Epstein's Black Book. And you said, he asked, who has Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book? And you said, Black Book FBI. And he said, but who? That is, I mean theirs. And you said, oh, that's under the direct control of the director of the FBI. That's what you said. Was that true, Mr. Patel?
I'll rely on you quoting it accurately. I did that a couple
Was
of
it
years
true
ago.
what you represented to Mr. Beck and the president's supporters out there, or were you lying? Was it true that the Black Book, Epstein's Black Book, was in the possession of the FBI director?
The Black Book was in the possession of the FBI.
Okay, so now that you're the FBI director, you have possession of the Black Book, right?
That index has been released.
So you have Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book?
What is known as Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book has been released by us.
And you released it. And let me follow up on Senator Kennedy's question, because he asked you, and I'll be very precise here. You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself? And you said, himself, there's no credible information, none. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And Kennedy, the information we have, again, is limited. And Senator Kennedy said, the answer is no one. And you said, for the information we have. So is it your testimony today that in all of the Epstein files, that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself? Is that your testimony, Mr.
I never
Patel?
said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone else.
Did he traffic any young woman to someone other than himself? That was Mr. Kennedy's question,
And I
Senator Kennedy's
said
question.
the information that 3 administrations have had access to
I'm
have
asking
made
you-
determinations that there are no investigative leads that were credible to prosecute and investigate any others. I'm specifically
I'm asking
stating
you whether
we
it's
were
your
working on.
testimony today.
Well, you just read
that
it, and I said it
I'm-
10 minutes ago, so let the record reflect my
I
testimony.
just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding, because there are victims like Virginia Guifer who have testified otherwise. who have said otherwise, and you're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying. And
Well,
you can say whatever you want.
Let me ask you this. When Todd Blanche went to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, she said, but did I think these guys were coming for that? I really don't. If you met Epstein, there's no way that this cast of characters, of which it's extraordinary, and some are in your cabinet, who you value as your co-workers, and you know would be with him if he was a creep or because they wanted sexual favors. A man wants sexual favors, he will find out. They didn't have to come to Epstein for that. And the next question Todd Blanche, the president's former criminal defense lawyer, asked is not who in the cabinet, who are you referring to? His question is, so when's the last time you think you were with Mr. Epstein when he got a massage? So let me ask you, who are those cabinet members that Ghislaine Maxwell was referring to that were part of this cast of characters associated with Mr. Epstein? Who are they?
The Deputy Attorney General took the aggressive step that no one else did and interviewed Miss Maxwell for 2 days, and we released the entirety of that transcript.
Who are the cabinet members?
I do not have that transcript in front of me. You're picking it piecemeal. The American public can read the entirety of that.
One last question, because you clearly won't tell us the cabinet members associated with Mr. Epstein. Let me ask you one last question. And that is, right after she gives this testimony in front of an FBI agent, among others, she's transferred to a minimum security prison not suitable for a sex offender like herself. Who made that decision and why?
The Bureau of Prisons.
The Bureau of Decisions made it in
prisons.
The Bureau of Prisons decided on their own, without any consultation with Blanche or anyone else, that they were going to suddenly, after this interview, completely unrelated to this interview, completely unrelated to anything she said, move her to a prison not suitable for a sex offender. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of inmates.
Not in the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of California. We are bringing historic reform. Point of order. But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
you said I'm the most transparent FBI director in history. 33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Both of you be quiet before I go to Senator Tillis.
What viewers just watched was more than a disagreement between two politicians. It was a collision over one of the most important questions facing any federal law enforcement agency. Can investigators do their jobs without political retaliation? And that is why Senator Adam Schiff kept returning to the same question. During the September 16, 2025 Senate Judiciary Oversight hearing, Schiff confronted FBI Director Kash Patel about commitments Patel had made during his confirmation process. The central issue was whether FBI personnel had been terminated or disciplined because they had worked on investigations involving Donald Trump or January 6th. The hearing record confirms that Patel denied carrying out terminations for political retaliation. But listen carefully to the language. Schiff wanted a direct answer, yes or no. Patel repeatedly used a narrower formulation. He said employees were not terminated for case assignments alone, and argued that terminations were based on failing to meet standards, uphold their constitutional oath, or fulfill the FBI's mission. That distinction became the center of the confrontation, because from Schiff's perspective, the word alone mattered. If someone was not fired solely because of an assignment, Schiff wanted to know whether that assignment could nevertheless have played a part in the decision. Patel rejected that interpretation, and this is where the exchange became politically significant. Neither side was simply debating a technical HR policy. They were arguing over the credibility of allegations involving senior FBI personnel and the broader question of whether the Bureau had become politicized. Schiff then pushed even harder. He asked whether Patel had ever told anyone inside the FBI that agents who worked on cases involving Trump would be removed. Patel denied making such a statement. When Schiff pressed him about whether people making those allegations were lying, Patel refused to characterize their claims and instead returned to his own account of what he had said and done. That matters because congressional oversight is not just about getting an answer. It is about creating a public record. Every question, every denial, and every qualification becomes part of that record. And then Schiff moved to the Epstein files. This was the second major pressure point. Schiff brought up Patel's earlier public comments about Jeffrey Epstein's so-called Black Book and questioned what Patel had previously represented about FBI possession of those records. Patel responded that what was known as Epstein's Black Book had been released by the FBI. The hearing transcript records this exchange directly, but Schiff wasn't satisfied. He moved from the existence of the records to the much larger question: what did those records actually establish? That distinction is crucial. Having documents is one thing. Having credible investigative evidence capable of supporting charges against additional people is something entirely different. Patel argued that the information available to multiple administrations had not produced credible investigative leads sufficient to prosecute or investigate additional individuals. He specifically rejected the interpretation that he was saying Epstein had never trafficked anyone else. Schiff, however, tried to force that answer into a simpler conclusion. And that is what produced another clash. The disagreement wasn't merely over what documents existed. It was over what conclusions could legitimately be drawn from them. That is an important distinction for viewers because political debates often compress complicated investigative questions into one dramatic phrase. A file can contain a name. A contact book can contain a name. A witness statement can contain an allegation. None of those facts, standing alone, automatically establishes criminal responsibility. That does not mean questions about the records should be ignored. Quite the opposite. It means those questions have to be separated carefully. What evidence exists? What was investigated? What was corroborated? What investigative leads were considered credible? And what conclusions can the government actually support? Those are the questions that oversight hearings are supposed to expose. But then the hearing took another dramatic turn. Schiff questioned Patel about comments surrounding Ghislaine Maxwell and her transfer within the federal prison system. Patel attributed the decision to the Bureau of Prisons and said he was not involved in the everyday movement of inmates. Schiff challenged that explanation and questioned the timing. Patel pushed back, and eventually the discussion stopped sounding like a conventional oversight exchange and became openly personal. Patel accused Schiff of turning the hearing into a political performance and attacked Schiff's record and credibility. Schiff continued questioning him, while Chairman Chuck Grassley eventually intervened and ordered the participants to be quiet. That final confrontation is the moment that transformed the hearing from a policy dispute into a viral political spectacle. But the most important part may actually be what happened before the shouting, because underneath the insults were several serious institutional questions. First, how should the FBI distinguish legitimate personnel decisions from political retaliation? Second, when an FBI director says employees were terminated for performance or conduct reasons, what evidence supports those decisions? Third, when politicians demand transparency over controversial investigations, what information can the government actually release? And fourth, how should the public interpret politically explosive allegations when the underlying evidence remains disputed? Those questions are bigger than either Schiff or Patel. The FBI is one of the most powerful law enforcement institutions in the United States. Its credibility depends not only on what it investigates, but also on whether the public believes its investigations and personnel decisions are being made according to consistent standards. That is why Patel's repeated emphasis on standards, constitutional oath, and the FBI mission was politically important. He was presenting his personnel decisions as institutional rather than retaliatory. Schiff was trying to test that claim against specific allegations and Patel's previous commitments. And neither side walked away with the other side's version of events accepted. That is the real takeaway. Patel did not concede that he had removed agents because they worked on Trump-related investigations. Schiff did not accept Patel's explanation as sufficient. On the Epstein questions, Patel maintained that the government's available information did not establish credible investigative leads against additional people, while Schiff continued pressing for greater clarity. The official Senate record confirms that the hearing covered both the alleged purge of FBI officials and questions surrounding Epstein-related materials. So when you watch the viral ending again, remember what produced it. It wasn't one insult. It wasn't one question. It was a long sequence of increasingly difficult questions about FBI independence, personnel decisions, transparency, and the government's handling of controversial records. And that is why this exchange matters beyond the personalities. Because if Patel is right, the FBI's personnel decisions were based on legitimate standards rather than political retaliation. If Schiff's concerns are justified, then the questions about those decisions deserve much deeper scrutiny. And the only way to resolve the dispute is not through louder accusations. It is through records, evidence, testimony, and accountability. That is ultimately what congressional oversight is supposed to provide.